On my friend's 18th birthday, I gave him a kiss as a gift. Gay love story. It was supposed to be just another birthday party. Just a night with music, laughter, and cake. But nothing about that night ended up being normal. Especially not what I did when the candles went out. You see, I had been holding something in for months. Attention. A curiosity. Maybe even more than that. And as the clock struck midnight and everyone cheered, I leaned in and gave my best friend a kiss. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a joke. It was real. And his reaction? I'll never forget it. This isn't just a story about a party. It's about the moment everything changes between two people who thought they knew each other. Stay with me, because what happened after that kiss is something you'll want to see through to the end. If you've ever questioned your feelings or had a moment that changed everything, this story is for you. Don't forget to subscribe, turn on notifications, and hit like so you never miss the next chapter of love, risk, and self-discovery. I've always hated birthday parties. The noise, the pressure to have fun, the endless small talk, they all make me feel like I'm just performing a version of myself. But this one was different. This one was his. Landon had just turned 18. He was glowing with that kind of freedom you can only feel once. The moment you realize you're technically an adult, but your heart still beats like a teenager. We'd been best friends since middle school, thick as thieves, through breakups, late-night gaming marathons, and nights where he crashed at my place because he just didn't want to be alone. I never questioned it. Not really. But lately, I had started to. The party was in his parents' backyard. Fairy lights strung through trees, a Bluetooth speaker pumping out a playlist he'd definitely stolen from my phone, and way too many people I didn't recognize. But when I saw him, laughing, shirt slightly untucked, a red cup in hand, cheeks already pink from the drinks or the cold or both, the crowd disappeared. "Dude, you made it," he said, grinning and pulling me into one of those hugs he gives like he means it. One arm strong around my neck, his chin almost brushing my shoulder. I felt it all too fast. The scent of his cologne, the warmth of his body against mine, my chest tightening like it always did these days. "Wouldn't miss it," I said, trying to sound casual, cool, like my heartbeat wasn't trying to leap out of my throat. He grabbed 2 drinks from the cooler and handed me one. "We're making terrible choices tonight," he said with that sly smile of his. "You in?" Always. That's what I wanted to say. Not just for tonight. Always. We found ourselves sitting on the trampoline in the far corner of the yard later, away from the party noise. Just us. Our legs brushed. He didn't move. Neither did I. "Do you remember when we were 12 and you told me that kissing was gross?" he asked, looking up at the stars like it didn't matter, but I could hear the grin in his voice. "Still kinda is," I replied, laughing too hard. Deflection, my old defense mechanism. He turned toward me then, eyes darker under the night sky, lips curved in a way that made my stomach twist. "You're such a liar." Maybe I was. I'd been lying to myself for months. I watched his mouth as he talked. I hated myself for it. I hated how much I noticed, how much I cared. I hated the fact that my fingers itched to brush the side of his face, to test if it felt as warm as it looked. And then, just like that, it was midnight. Everyone screamed from the back porch. Fireworks someone definitely wasn't supposed to bring lit up the sky. And Landon turned to me with this stupid, happy grin and said, "Guess I'm officially legal now." Something snapped inside me. I don't know what came over me. Maybe the drinks, maybe the electricity in the air, maybe the months of pretending I didn't feel what I felt. But I looked at him, his flushed cheeks, the way he leaned a little closer than he needed to, the silence between us, and I kissed him. Just for a second, His lips were softer than I imagined, warmer, and when I pulled back, everything went still. He blinked, once, twice, and then he laughed. Not the kind that makes you feel safe, the kind that cuts. "Was that my birthday present?" he asked. I froze. My throat burned. I didn't know if he was mocking me or trying to hide something. Maybe both. I wanted to disappear. Yeah, sorry. That was stupid," I muttered, standing too fast. My legs barely worked. But before I could walk away, his hand shot out, grabbing mine. "Wait," he said, his voice suddenly quiet. Not mocking, not laughing. He looked at me like he didn't know what he was feeling either. "Why'd you do it?" he asked. And just like that, the night wasn't fun anymore. It was dangerous, real, like standing on the edge of something we couldn't unsee. His hand was still on mine. Not tight, not pulling. Just there. Like he didn't want to let go, but didn't know why either. The music in the background kept going. Bass vibrating faintly through the grass under our feet, distant laughter from the porch. But it all sounded far away. What wasn't far was him. His eyes on mine, the tension sitting heavy between us, thick like a question neither of us wanted to ask out loud. "I don't know why I did it," I said, finally answering his question, even though I wasn't sure if I was lying. "I guess I just felt like it." "You just felt like kissing me?" Landon raised a brow, that same teasing edge creeping back into his voice. But this time it wasn't as sharp. It was uncertain, like he was trying to joke his way through something too big to name. I nodded, trying to keep my voice steady. "I thought you'd laugh it off." "Well, I kinda did." "Yeah," I said, forcing a shrug. "Guess I should go." I tried to walk again, but he still didn't let go. "Hey," he said, his voice lower now, barely loud enough to hear. "I didn't say I didn't like it." That stopped everything, my breath, my thoughts, the pounding in my chest. I turned to him slowly. "What?" He swallowed. He looked down at his shoes, at the grass, anywhere but my face. "It caught me off guard, okay? I didn't expect you to do that. I mean, you're you." "Thanks," I said, confused. "What does that mean?" He glanced at me again, this time with something softer in his eyes. "You've never said anything before. I didn't know you even thought about that stuff." "I do. A lot more than I let on." The words felt raw coming out, honest in a way I wasn't used to, like I was handing him something fragile, unsure if he'd drop it or hold it with care. "Yeah," he said, after a long pause. "Me too." I blinked. "Wait, are you saying you've thought about it?" Landon bit his lip, looked away and nodded. "Once or twice." "Only once or twice?" He smiled, that crooked, sideways smile he always did when he was nervous. "Okay, maybe more." A breeze passed between us, carrying the scent of smoke and night air. He looked at me again, more directly this time. "Can we pretend this didn't happen? Just for tonight? I mean, I need to think. I don't want the whole party to feel weird." That stung, even though I understood. "Sure," I said. "We'll pretend." But pretending wasn't easy. For the rest of the night, I walked around like a ghost. People said hi, pulled me into conversations, offered drinks. I went through the motions, but I kept looking for him in the crowd. I saw him sometimes, talking to someone, laughing, but his eyes always darted back to me. Brief glances, almost like checks. When I finally slipped away and sat alone on the back steps, I thought maybe the night was over, that nothing more would come from it. Then Landon appeared again, sliding down beside me. "Cold?" he asked. "A little." He shrugged off his hoodie and tossed it into my lap. "Here." "Thanks," I said quietly, slipping it on. It smelled like him, warm, comfortable, something between citrus and whatever shampoo he always used. For a long moment, we didn't speak. Then he said, "You didn't mess anything up, you know." I looked at him. "Didn't I?" He shook his head. "You were just the first one brave enough to do something about it." I didn't know what that meant, and I didn't get the chance to ask because someone called his name from the other side of the yard. He stood up, hesitated for half a second, and looked down at me. "I'll text you tomorrow," he said. I nodded. "Sure." But that wasn't the end of it. Just before walking away, he leaned down again, real close, lips near my ear, and said, "You're a really good kisser." And then he was gone, swallowed up by the party once more. I sat there, heart slamming against my ribs, unable to move. I had no idea what tomorrow would bring. But I knew one thing for sure now. I wasn't imagining this. The next day felt like waking up in a different world. The memory of the kiss was so vivid in my head, it replayed every time I blinked. His lips, his voice, that final whisper before he disappeared back into the crowd. And yet, nothing. No text, no call, no, "Hey, let's talk about that." I kept checking my phone like a fool, refreshing apps, making sure I hadn't missed a notification. I hadn't. Landon had gone silent. By afternoon, I couldn't take it anymore. I typed out a message. "Hey, hope your head's not pounding. Want to hang later?" And hovered over send for 5 full minutes before my thumb gave in. He replied 2 hours later. "Yeah, come by around 6? Just that. No emoji, no nervous joke, no reference to it. My stomach was a knot by the time I walked up his driveway that evening. He opened the door barefoot, hoodie sleeves pushed up, a spoon in his mouth and a bowl of mac and cheese in one hand. "Hey," he said, around the spoon. "You came?" "Yeah," I replied, trying to match his casual tone like my pulse wasn't already racing. We ended up in his room, sprawled across the bed like always, except nothing felt the same. There was this electric pause in every sentence, like we were both waiting for the other to bring it up, but neither of us did. "So," he said, stretching his legs out beside mine, "my cousin thought we were high at the party. She said we were acting weird. Were we?" He gave me a long look. "I don't know. Were we?" I swallowed hard. "I wasn't high." "Me neither." Silence. Then, out of nowhere, he sat up straighter, running a hand through his hair. "Okay, I can't do this pretend it didn't happen thing. Can we talk?" I nodded. My throat was too dry to speak. "That kiss," he began, but trailed off. It messed with my head. I sat up beside him, careful not to move too fast. "Yeah, me too." He exhaled. "I've kissed people before. Girls, a few guys. You know that. But this felt different." I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just waited. "Because it was you," he said, finally meeting my eyes. "And that freaks me out a little." "I get it," I said. "I didn't plan it. It just happened." "Yeah," he muttered. "And it's all I've thought about since." His voice had dropped. Not shy, but raw, honest in a way I hadn't expected. I stared at the floor. "You didn't text me." I didn't know what to say. I didn't want to screw this up. "You mean us?" I asked. "Our friendship?" He nodded slowly. Yeah, that. And also, whatever this is. I don't know what I want, but I don't want to lose you. You won't, I said instantly. And I meant it. He looked at me then, really looked. His expression soft, almost like he was seeing me differently now, or maybe seeing me clearly for the first time. You ever wish you could just stop time and figure your feelings out before you act? Every day, I said with a quiet laugh. But sometimes acting is the only way to figure it out. Is that what you did? Acted? I think it was more like impulse with consequences. He smirked. So, what now? I don't know. Do you still want to pretend nothing happened? He hesitated, and then shook his head. No, I don't. He scooted just slightly closer, barely an inch, but I felt it everywhere. I'm not ready to label anything, he said, but I want to see where this goes. That sentence alone sent chills through me, because it wasn't a no, it wasn't fear, it was honesty, and maybe even hope. We sat in silence again, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It felt like something unspoken had finally broken free between us. He leaned back on his elbows, glancing at me sideways. By the way, that kiss? Better than I remembered. I snorted. You remembered it? Are you kidding? I've replayed it in my head 100 times. And then he paused, eyes on mine. Want to try it again? Without the fireworks this time? My heart did something weird, like it forgot how to beat properly. And then I leaned in, just a little. But right before our lips could touch, a knock came at his bedroom door. His mom's voice called out, Landon, dinner's ready. He jumped like he'd been caught red-handed. Coming! I sat back, pulse still racing. He looked at me, lips twitching. Rain check? Definitely. But the question hanging in the air, what happens next, didn't go away. The rest of the week felt like we were dancing around something invisible. Landon kept texting me. Not every second, but enough to make it clear I was on his mind. He sent memes, inside jokes, random thoughts at 1 a.m. But we hadn't talked about it again. Not the kiss, not the almost kiss, not the unspoken promise hanging between us. Until Saturday night. A girl from our school, Brianna, someone I barely knew, was throwing a house party because her parents were out of town and, apparently, that was enough reason. Landon wanted to go. I didn't. But when he said, it might be fun, and I kinda want you there, how could I say no? When I arrived, the place was packed. Music was thumping through the walls, bodies pressed shoulder to shoulder, and the smell of cheap beer mixed with too much cologne hung heavy in the air. Landon was already inside, leaning against the kitchen counter, wearing that black flannel he always looked good in, drink in hand, half smiling at someone I didn't recognize. He lit up when he saw me. You came. I said I would. He reached out and pulled me through the crowd, our fingers brushing, a touch that lasted just a little longer than it needed to. The energy between us was different now, charged, tense in a good way, or maybe a dangerous one. I couldn't tell. We ended up in the backyard, quieter. A string of patio lights flickered overhead, and people milled around with red cups and cigarettes. He led me to a corner near the fence and leaned against it, hands in his pockets. I haven't stopped thinking about the other night, he said. I froze. Me neither. I've been trying to figure out why it hit me so hard, he continued. Why it mattered. And? I asked, voice barely above a breath. I think maybe I've always known. That you're different. That I'm different. But I never had to face it until now. The honesty in his voice hit me like a wave. I nodded slowly. Yeah. Same. Just then, the back door slammed open, and someone shouted Landon's name. We both looked up. It was Ben, a guy from our soccer team, stumbling a little, clearly drunk. Yo, Landon. That girl inside? Brianna's cousin? She totally wants you, man. Landon's expression changed. His jaw tightened. He forced a smile. Cool, man. Thanks. Ben looked between us, clearly noticing the way we were standing too close. His eyes narrowed slightly, and then he muttered, You good, dude? Landon stepped back. Yeah, I'm good. And just like that, everything shifted. He didn't look at me again. He turned and walked back inside with Ben, leaving me standing there in the dark. I stayed outside for a while. Too long. My chest felt hollow, like something had been taken away before I even had a chance to hold it. And the worst part? I understood. It was scary. The world we lived in, even the people we called friends, didn't always make space for someone like him, or someone like me. Eventually, I went back inside. I found him again near the stairs, drink in hand, laughing at something too loudly, but his eyes found mine across the room. And I saw it. The apology, the panic, the shame. I walked past him without a word. I didn't stop until I was out front, leaning against the cold metal of my car, hands trembling. Minutes later, I heard footsteps behind me. I messed up, Landon said quietly. I didn't turn around. You don't have to explain. Yes, I do, he said. That wasn't me in there. That was me trying to be what people expect, and I hate it. I looked over my shoulder. His face was flushed, not just from the alcohol, but from something deeper. Embarrassment, regret. I just needed a second to breathe, he said. But when I saw your face, I realized I'd rather be scared with you than comfortable pretending. I stared at him. Say something, he whispered. So I did. I was scared too, but I didn't walk away. He stepped closer. I won't again. We stood there for a moment, inches apart, headlights from passing cars casting fleeting light over us. And even though no one said it out loud, something had changed again. Not a kiss, not a declaration, but something real. And the next time he looked at me, he didn't look away. Things didn't magically fix overnight, but something between us had shifted for good. After the party, Landon and I spent the entire Sunday together, not out, not doing anything impressive, just sitting on the floor of his room, playing old video games, talking about nothing and everything, and letting the quiet moments speak louder than words. Every now and then our knees touched, or our fingers, and we didn't pull away. Around sunset, I asked him, "What now?" He looked over at me, brow furrowed slightly like he wasn't sure how to answer. I think we just keep being honest. No labels, no pressure. Just us. I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral, even though my chest ached in the best way. I'm not great with emotions, he added, looking down. But I'm trying. You're doing better than you think, I said. And then, quietly, no music, no fireworks, no one watching, he kissed me. Not to prove anything, not to test a boundary. Just because. When he pulled back, he smiled. I've been wanting to do that without getting interrupted. I laughed, then leaned into him again. But right before we could kiss a second time, his phone buzzed, loudly. He glanced at it and froze. What is it? I asked. He turned the screen toward me. It was a message from his dad. Heard something about you and that friend of yours. Come home now. My stomach dropped. Landon's face went pale. He stood in the driveway like the air had turned to stone around him. His fingers tightened on the phone and his voice came out thin. He knows. Somehow he knows. I'll come with you, I offered. He shook his head quickly. No, I have to do this alone. The way he said it, not angry, not afraid, just steady, made me realize something. Landon was braver than he thought. That night, I didn't hear from him. Not until the next afternoon, when he showed up at my door, eyes a little red, but smiling. I told him, he said. Everything. My breath caught. And? He doesn't get it. But he didn't throw me out. He said he needs time. But so do I. I reached for his hand. I'm not going anywhere, I told him. He squeezed it back, and for the first time, we weren't hiding anything. Not from each other, not from the world.